Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Trap Chat. I am your host, Kirsten Greggs, and I am so excited to be joined today by a phenomenal person, a global business strategist, corporate trainer, board member, GEM Success honoree, keynote speaker, and the owner of Cultivate with Taneka Johnson. Hailing from Memphis, Tennessee. You're the first person that actually still lives in Memphis that's been on the show, so you got to represent for for Memphis. Uh, Tanika, how are you this morning?
I am doing great, Kirsten. I am definitely happy to be here, excited for our conversation today. And of course, I'm going to put on for the M Town. So happy to be
Okay.
the first Memphian on Trap Chats. And I hope to bring an amazing experience today.
All right. So tell us about yourself and then go ahead and share your career journey from corporate training and development, organizational change to being the global business strategist that you are today.
Absolutely. So, a little bit about myself. So, I am the youngest daughter of two. Me and my sister were 22 years apart. Mind blowing. I know. Um, so, I'm the youngest of two. I've been here in Memphis for like 28 years now. I'm an Army brat. So, my daddy used to be in the Air Force. And I was actually born in Hawaii. So, how did I end up here, right? But as far as my background, I am majored in IO psychology. So a lot of my background is industrial organizational psychology. Um, and I use that in my business as a business strategist, a life coach, to help solopreneurs. So help them create the structure, system, and strategy that they need to be able to have the flexibility and freedom in their business and focus on being the CEO visionaries that they need. And then on the B2B side, focusing on creating people and process solutions through training and development strategies and corporate wellness strategies as well. So this year, my coaching business will be turning 7. And I have over 20 years of experience in leadership, training and development, and creating training programs. So I'm super excited to be here and share my expertise and experience today.
That's awesome. So, reflecting a little on your career journey and those moments where you felt stagnant and unsure of your next steps, how did you navigate those periods of uncertainty and what lessons did you learn along the way?
So really crazy. So my first corporate job that I had was pretty pretty much, I want to say, like the only real corporate job I had. I didn't really get like the true corporate experience that I thought I was going to have as far as climbing the corporate ladder. But I did experience a lot of what I felt like was kind of like turmoil at the time because I knew that I needed to move. I knew that I needed to take the next step in my career path. But for whatever reason, I just didn't know how to advocate for myself. So it made it fairly difficult because it kind of instilled like a fear in me, kind of paralyzed me to stay in a role and in a position that really didn't warrant me any growth. But it did warrant me the ability to learn a lot and be able to use what I learned there, even currently now. So it was kind of a place of, having to face reality and saying, like, have I outgrown this space? Have I served enough in this space? Have I really fulfilled this space? And then me being me, my character is I hate to give up. I hate to quit on things. So there was another internal battle as well with me in trying to navigate that process. So it was the first time that I had became stuck and I knew that I had already been told to move and I just didn't move because I was just so paralyzed about like what the next step was supposed to be. But God had already told me that I needed to take the leap, and I didn't take the leap. So I ended up, what I say, suffering a little bit. And I actually ended up developing anxiety and depression in the process of being stuck and stagnant in that particular position when I should have went ahead and moved and just took the leap to the next thing that was best for me.
Oh, wow. I can definitely relate to that. I think I told you in our first conversation
Mhm.
that I had a similar experience, but thankfully, the time that I moved very quickly, it only took me 9 days to get it. But I had previously stayed in a in a situation in an organization way too long.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we might be afraid to grow.
Yeah.
Uh, Thankfully, I did not develop the anxiety and the depression from the work situation, but that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably brought it with me, and then the work just exacerbated
Yeah,
it.
and that can happen. That can definitely happen because I didn't know that it was happening to me. I had never
Yeah,
really experienced it before, but I knew that there was something wrong because I just didn't feel like myself anymore, and I didn't
right.
feel fulfilled in that role
Mm,
anymore. So I knew that there was something that I should be doing, but I was literally like too paralyzed to try to explore, well, what does that look like? And it's just something about having the fear of unknown. I think we kind of get,
hmm.
a little bit complacent with it,
Yes.
and so we just don't, we just don't because we get comfortable. We like, well, the benefits is, they're good, I'm getting by, it's taking care of things, but it causes a paralyzation in us, and we just end up staying longer sometimes in roles in places that we don't necessarily have to.
Amen. Amen. All right, that's a great segue to my next question. It is May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Yet,
Hmm.
mental health and wellness are often overlooked in our professional settings, either by ourselves or by the organizations that we support. How can organizations foster environments that prioritize mental well-being, and what role do employees play in advocating for their own mental health needs?
So, believe it or not, it has never failed when I go into an organization that the employees really don't know about their EAP programs. They really don't know about their employee benefits. And it's really shocking. It's almost as if like it's just a separate silo that nobody has taken the time to explore. So a lot of them do not even know that they have access to these resources, and that these resources have been provided to them most of the time, at a discounted rate, or, at a special rate or whatever, to help them get started on whatever parts of their wellness journey they desire to start. But a lot of it starts with just awareness, right? And I think the biggest thing within organizations is not leaving that awareness solely to HR. It definitely has to be a collective issue to where, management is helping, push the issue. The employees are helping to push the issue, as well as HR is helping to push the issue around creating the wellness aspects for employees. Because the the thing that I don't think a lot of people, in the organizational spaces understand is that, when you take great care of your employees, they'll take great care of you. It reflects in their performance, it reflects in their motivation, it reflects in, them accepting new challenges and welcoming new transitions into their environments, into the company culture. So that's the first step. It's just making sure that your employees are aware that they have EAP benefits and what those EAP
Mhm.
benefits are and how they can leverage them and use them. I specifically remember going to a company here in Memphis, and we were doing a corporate wellness setup here, and where they had to come to, the employees apparently had never been to. So when they got
Mhm.
up there, they didn't even realize that they had an on-campus gym that was there available to them at any time for them to use. And
Gosh.
they were like, "We could use that," and they were like, "Yeah, it's here," but nobody knew that it was there. So you could tell that it had never, it had never been used, and that was just really shocking to me. But secondly, like I said, I think it has to be a collective effort. It can't just be
Yeah.
the responsibility of HR to handle and coordinate it. So in my experience, when there is like a wellness champion or a present team that's there internally to help drive the mission, it makes things a little bit easier too. And companies can team up with their insurance providers to some extent. Some insurance providers will provide companies wellness dollars to host wellness fairs and things like that for them to bring in the resources that are also a part of their EAP program, so the employees can get more familiar with it. So that's another thing to look into. But
Yeah.
so, if having a internal wellness solution is something that you don't have in your organization, that's also something that Cultivate can come in and help curate, as well too. So as far as the employees themselves and having to advocate for themselves, I definitely know that it can seem scary. It can seem scary trying to navigate those waters as an employee of
Mhm.
but just think about the impact that it has on your home. Think about the impact that it can have on your relationships, on your children, because at the end of the day, you have to go home.
Yeah.
If you are spending, statistically, what do they say? They say we spend more than half of our time in our life at work. So if you are spending that amount of time at work, it only makes sense for you to try to find solutions that are going to support you in your well-being on a day-to-day basis as you have to return back to those spaces, because that's where you go to, and it can impact those spaces
Yeah.
if you do not take a handle on it.
Whew, that was a lot to take in. Y'all gonna have to rewind that part. Maybe I had to put the transcript up because you just gave us a whole master class right there. And I'm about to ask you another question as a follow on that's
Okay.
going to give us some more information.
Okay.
As you just outlined, your work does focus. Some of your work focuses on the intersection of personal wellness and
Mhm.
professional success.
Mhm.
What are the common signs that indicate an individual or team is feeling stuck, or they're feeling that anxiety, they're feeling that I ain't really who I'm supposed to be type of thing? And then what do you recommend for overcoming these obstacles?
Yeah, so I think one of the most noticeable things, if you know that you have somebody on your team or an employee that has always been like a high performer, that has always been a go getter, that has always reached for challenges, and all of a sudden they start to shrink back, that's a clear indicator that something has shifted, something may be wrong, or something may be going on in a different area. Another one may be resistance to change or new challenges. Others can include overwhelm, burnout, poor company culture, no growth opportunities, lack of guidance from management, and even self comparison. That can be,
Oh,
especially amongst women, that could be very detrimental. So those are some of the ones that, I point out that are pretty high on my list of awareness.
whoa.
But as far as like some solutions that you can implement, if you are very solutions oriented organization, there are ways that you can kind of pivot this for your high performing employees and even teams to make this a little bit more easier. So some of the solutions include calling in support to acknowledge that there is a problem and say, like, hey, collectively agreeing that we're going to come up with the solution and steer forth towards the solution, right? Just be the
Yeah.
solution to the problem. Sometimes it may be time to move from a position and start new due to lack of support or lack of opportunity and growth. So
Hmm.
that's another thing, because like we just discussed earlier, that was my thing, with my position. Um, Especially if it has been non-existent, and then also maybe considering something like team retreats are a great way to hit the reset
Mm.
button with your team, and to create a more inclusive and a more almost like a more comfort space for them to be a little bit more open, but also receive like that recognition, that support, and that praise during that time as well too, just to show a point of gratitude. So it helps to hit the reset button on their creativity and those thinking processes, but it also helps to encourage, collectiveness and getting to connect with each other better and learning how to work with each other better as well during that time too.
I love it. One thing I like you when you mentioned, I was taken aback. I mean, I've heard I've heard most of those things having worked in HR for, the majority of my career. But
Right.
when you said comparison as
Mm-hmm.
one of the signs that you're just, you know, that you're
Yep.
feeling, as we say, feeling a type of way, feel some
Mm-hmm.
type of way, like I never considered that, but as I reflect on it, I'm thinking about all the times that I've done that and
Mm-hmm.
then what was actually behind driving that comparison and why I was doing that. So wow, like you have I'm gonna have to journal this now. Thanks a lot.
I know, right? I do a little self discovery work, a little self discovery.
Yeah, like I didn't sign. Listen, I don't sign up for this self discovery. Like this is for everybody else. This ain't about me.
I'm sorry, friend, but
I
yeah,
know.
it's
Listen,
definitely
listen.
like those
Speaking of,
are things that we probably don't think about because
yeah.
they're not as the most admitted common things, but they
Hmm.
are pretty common. Like you will come across a lot of people that suffer, with the comparison. of,
Yeah.
seeing other people in the space being praised, seeing other people being
Ooh.
acknowledged, seeing other people, being called on to take on different projects and stuff like that. And you're like, I know I have the skills. I know I've shown up. I know I've delivered. I know that I have been somebody who, has taken on extra work. I know I've done the performance, but for some reason, it's like, the other person that may not have shown up as much is always, getting the accolades or being assigned, the special projects or the extra opportunities. So it's definitely something to consider.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm just going to shift a little bit.
Oh,
And it's another thing that, I've experienced as well. And
mhm,
you and I talked about this, being the only and or the most educated
mhm,
in your corporate space. And that's another
mhm.
area where another, I think, trigger for some of our anxieties and some of our feelings of being stuck. So having experienced the only, having experienced the most educated, what advice do you have for individuals navigating similar situations, particularly in terms of overcoming what we like to call imposter syndrome and leveraging their unique perspectives for success?
Yeah, this is a great question. Great question. And I wish truthfully that back then I had known what I know now.
Yeah.
But honestly, imposter syndrome is really an illusion, but it's honestly something that you will never be able to get rid of, because as you continue to evolve as a human being and as you continue to elevate even in your life, every level is going to cause you to experience some sort of imposter syndrome. So what
Mm,
like to say is, I like to tell people that you have to learn how to just deal with it better, because it is going to come up. I don't think it ever really goes away. You have to learn how to kind of build like that mental fortitude and that mental strength, and even that emotional intelligence to just say like, hey, I know this is going to happen, but when you notice little signs and triggers of it happening, being able to stop those things in its tracks as soon as it starts happening. So if you know that you are struggling with imposter syndrome, like asking yourself, like, is this something that I really should be, concerned about? Like, is this something that I'm really an imposter about? Because a lot of the time, I find when people ask us about ourselves and the success that we have, we're ready to boil over with everything that we have to say. But when we're sitting with ourselves and we're having the reflection of ourselves, we're just like, I haven't done anything. Yes, you have. You've
mm,
done a lot. So like, if you need to create that rap sheet of what do they call it, brag book that you,
yeah.
the successes that you have had, no matter how big or how small, to use that as a reminder to be able to say like, you have conquered a lot of things. So you're not an imposter. You really are who you say you are, even if other people can't acknowledge it and they don't see it. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right?
Right.
So it's going back to also that self-awareness. So where are you in self-awareness and self-leadership, and saying like, I know who I am, I know what I've done, no matter what environment I'm in, no matter if they can actually see it for themselves or they can't. Because also, I just did a live about this the other day. It's so crazy. So there was a study done about the level of people, the amount of people here that are self-aware. And the studies basically came to say that only about 10% of people are self-aware. So what does that tell you?
That you might be a 90%er. Oh, man.
The thing is, we're always looking and seeking approval, through, titles, through, recognition. But if only 10% of people are truly self-aware, then, what are we really asking them, So you have to be firm in, knowing who you are, what you have accomplished, what you have mastered. And if that reflects that by you being the only and the most educated, that you need to go and take upon something better somewhere else, go and do that. Don't be scared and don't feel like you have to put up with that where you are, because just like you were able to acquire that position, you can easily go and apply and acquire another position that may reward you even more, because you are possibly the only or the most educated, right? So
Mm-hmm.
welcome more opportunity for you. And it's one of those things that I think you also have to look at the cup being half full versus half empty.
Mm.
So if you know how to leverage those to your advantage, you could look at it that way instead of just saying, well, I have to, stay here and I have to take this and they don't respect me. No, you don't have to. And this is coming from somebody that should have advocated for herself. Like I've learned that now. I didn't have to do that, and I could have went on and proceeded to, a different environment and a different organization that would have, respected me better. But I just was too scared at the time to do it, and I just didn't know how to navigate it.
Whew. Well, I'm glad that you have reached the part where you recognize that and that you have shared your experience so that other people can get to where you are. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh wow. Hmm. You're giving me so much to think about. I'm about, thank goodness it's, what day it is so that I can go and take some time for myself.
Great self care time.
Yes, great self care time. Let's shift again to another part of focus area of your business, which is organizational development and training, both
Okay.
being essential for growth. Can you share an example of an effective strategy or program you've implemented to help individuals and teams break free from that stagnation and reach their full potential?
Absolutely. So I think I actually have two. So the first one is fairly interesting because at that particular corporate job in the manufacturing space, um, there were quite a few employees that didn't speak English. So there was a little bit of a disconnect between the standard operating procedures and work instructions that have been created because, well, they were in English and they were not in the in the language that they could understand. So I became tasked with this project to firstly create a training program internally because they did not have that, and everything had to be done manually because the organization didn't necessarily want to invest into a platform at the time. So just think about having to manage paperwork for a training program for 100 employees manually, and making sure that their documentation stays, up to date. Um, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have to do so much of the same paperwork,
Oh, it absolutely sounds like a lot.
it's a lot. So the task basically was to be able to create visual aids and a visual training
Oh,
program that helped them to be able to understand what it was that they were doing a little bit better and instill confidence in them to where they were making less mistakes in the production line. So I went ahead and I led the charge on that by creating the visual aids, kind of translating the work instructions into, those visual representations, videos, and hands-on training that allowed them to be able to pick up those processes a little bit faster, which helped to increase production about 30%, and then it lowered the mistakes by 10% as well. And then again, like fostering their confidence in the employees to still perform their job effectively, and then having the confidence and quality to be able to go and sit in front of the FDA and say like, hey, this is what we've been doing and it's working proficiently, and them giving us the approval that we need. And then secondly, another project as chief of staff, having to create training programs and customer success programs for 5 different internal programs that we had, coaching programs that we had. So having to create the customer success teams and sales teams and the programs and trainings that go along with that. So that helped us to reach our first million for that particular business, and then it ended up leading us to our next. So that was super exciting too.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh my goodness. We've reached the last question in the main portion.
Okay.
Um, so, something I love to talk about technology
Mhm.
and innovation and learning technology are central to your mission.
Mhm.
What emerging technologies do you believe will have the most significant impact on education and business in the coming years?
So of course AI, everybody's AI rampant, right? And it's literally transforming every day. So AI, augmented reality. So what I'm discovering, I do a lot of work serving on the board of the board of VP of Training and Education for the nonprofit Breakthrough Leadership Foundation here in Memphis. And we do a lot of workforce development training. So what I'm noticing is how they're marrying some of that training with augmented reality to kind of improvise more hands-on and more tactical based training. It's really kind of amazing to kind of see. And then of course in my third one is quantum computing. So as AI continues to grow, you're definitely going to have to figure out how to get ahead of it to see, like, if things start to break down, like how can we go ahead and know like the triggers of that and be able to solve that. So quantum computing is the third one.
Awesome. Wow. Again, y'all better take some notes, write down these things, go look them up. I have so enjoyed our conversation, getting to learn more about you, getting some great insights on how to get unstuck. Because I think we've all been there. Some of us are there right now.
Right.
Some of us just got out. Some of us are just getting in. However, it's something that I think we can all relate to, and I appreciate you coming to share your insights and your experiences. It's been amazing, but it is now time for the rapid fire. These are the questions that I ask every guest, and I'm always excited to learn more about them as the person, not just who they are at work or the work that they do. So, first question, and feel free to say, you know what, come back to that. Who is a well-known and or a lesser-known historical or contemporary figure who inspires you and we should learn more about?
This is we might have to come back to this one.
Okay.
Let's go
Okay.
to it.
All right. Thinking about a fictional character. Is there one that gives you a glimpse of yourself?
Storm from X-Men.
Ooh, the Halle Berry one? That's Halle Berry, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What is your favorite empowering quote?
From one of my favorite rappers, Big Crit. He's actually from
I
Mississippi.
love this. I love this.
One of my favorite rappers, he has a song, and one of the verses in the song, or the hook in the song, it says, "If you believe in me, prove it."
Okay. If you believe in me, prove it.
Yep.
I love that. All right. I'm gonna have to go type in my Apple Music, Big Crit.
You'll love it. You'll love it.
Okay. Okay. If you could spend a day shadowing someone in a different profession from your own, who would it be? And what would you hope to learn from them?
So ever since I read the book, The 50th Law by 50 Cent,
Really?
I love how that man thinks. So I would love to shadow him, and I would love to
Okay.
see him use his strategies in real time.
All
I would.
right.
I would.
Okay. Um, you may have already answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is your go-to song, songs, or music genre when you want to hype yourself up to conquer the day?
I have a confidence playlist that I
Okay.
that I've kind of built. So it has several different artists on it. I'm not a Beehive fan. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I'm not a Beehive
No,
fan.
you can say that on this show because this is I like her, like I like the music. I
But
think she's a
I'm
great
not.
entertainer, but I'm not out here like
No, I'm
ready to.
not out here like
Yeah,
this. But
yeah,
I definitely can understand like the empowerment that comes through her music and her art
yeah.
as a performer. And I think I think it's something that every woman should embrace, right?
Okay,
I talk a lot about having like identity shifts and using the alter ego to kind of like embody
like the
what
Sasha Fierce.
yeah,
Okay.
like the Sasha Fierce, like she did that until she finally evolved completely into her and she didn't have to use that alter ego anymore, right? So
Mm,
I created a playlist that kind of like evokes that alter ego, and I have
okay,
a power color. So my power color is red. I know you didn't expect that, but it kind of go with it. But yeah.
okay, okay. All right. I love it. What's the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
The best piece of career advice that I have ever received is that if you don't know how to understand and articulate your value, don't expect others to be able to do it for you.
That is very sound advice.
Hmm.
Shout out to the person that told you that. What advice would you give to your early career self?
My early career self, I would probably give the advice of I used to be very timid and I used to be kind of shy.
Really?
So I know you can't tell. But I would definitely give the advice of learn how to take on challenges earlier. So
Mhm.
like positions and careers that may challenge you a little bit more and figure out a way to embrace them a little bit earlier than later.
Okay. If you wrote a book describing your career so far, what would the title be?
The next female mogul.
The next female mogul coming to you spring 2025. Get it
Yeah,
written down.
that
Yeah.
sounds good. I like it.
I said all my listen, I had so many guests that are coming out with books starting like soon. Like I gotta go back and be like, okay, where's that book we talked about?
Yeah.
All right. The next female mogul. Okay. And then last question before I let you go. What are you most looking forward to this year, whether it's a personal goal, project, or initiative, a professional milestone, or an exciting opportunity?
I am mostly looking forward to doing more speaking, being on stages, being on panels, making global connections as well too. So we're in the process of trying to look at doing business in the Dominican Republic and Ghana as
Okay.
well too. So making those global connections and taking upon those global opportunities. So I'm super excited about that.
I love it. I love it. And then again, can you just let folks know where they can reach you if they want to check out your website, they want to follow you on the socials, if they want to just send you a note that says thank you for all that you said today, and where can I learn more about you? Where can I follow you?
Absolutely. So I'm across pretty much all socials at Cultivate with TJ, or if you go on Facebook, it's the full thing, Cultivate with Taneka Johnson. But you will be able to find me on all socials across all socials with that name. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Um, let me know that you enjoyed this. Just DM me
Yeah.
the word trap, and maybe I have a little gift for you waiting.
Did you hear that? DM the word trap, and she might have a little gift for you later. Okay. Check it out. I have so appreciated you spending your time once again. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for lending your voice to this platform. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Trap Chat. This episode being Getting Unstuck.
Mhm.
So go ahead and share, rewatch every time you feeling like you need some motivation or
Yeah.
some a little push to get unstuck. Look up Big Crit, DM Tanika with the word TRAP. And I'm going to add a little something for the person that knows that not only DMs her TRAP, but that tells her what TRAP stands for. And then I'll add a little something special extra into her gift. How about that?
Come
Little
on.
collab, little collab.
Do it. I love it.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.